card delight, trading cards. It's time to join the conversation. Ready to journey into the trading card hall.
Hi, hello everyone. It's Chris here from Trading Card Talk. And with me is
Hi everyone, Geoffrey here for the other half.
so the other half in Indonesia and one other half is in Malaysia. So Geoffrey is from Invaders Board Game Station in Jakarta, and and I'm from Malaysia in Poris Kota Damansara, right here in the heart of Kalisaya. Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 3 different topics, and we're going to try to keep it as beginner friendly as well to see whether there are things we can do to educate some of you who have not played trading card games before. And today we're going to talk about nationals. So Malaysia had our nationals last weekend over at Victor's Forge, and Geoffrey was actually the host for the Indonesian nationals. So
Yes.
I think, So Geoffrey, how was it like, the turnout on your end?
So, Nationals Indonesia. We hosted the Nationals on, what was it, the 22nd, is it? I think. Yes, the 22nd of June. So last 2 weeks. As expected, we have a cap of 64 players for our Nationals, and 54 players showed up at the event, and I think there were a lot of new players. And one of the highlights actually was one of the artists in Indonesia, Iswari Terianto, actually played in the main event, and he played Kano. If you want to see him in action, we had him in the featured match in the stream, which was hosted by our partner in High Rollers Production. You can check out the stream there. And so that was interesting. And out of the 54 players, I think the meta game was very, very spread between different heroes, but the most popular ones are actually, interestingly, is KO, the first one, and then
KO.
Azaria, and then of course Zen. So those are the top 3 most represented heroes in the event.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think the Malaysian metagame was quite diverse as well. Of course, most represented I think was Zen, because I actually dropped by in Victor's Watch on day 1, and I was just chatting with the judges in between their judging and all that, right? And I don't know whether we actually published a full beta game breakdown report, but when I was chatting with them, they told me that we had at least 12 Zens in day 1. And then after we also had representation from Riptide, not as much as Zelias, I think. We also had a little bit of some new, and interestingly enough, we had a couple of victors, like 2 or 3 victor gold wins in the game. Right? And ultimately, spoiler, but not really a spoiler. Everyone's probably seen the results by now. The Nationals was won by a Victor Goldman, piloted by Keith. Yeah, and Keith has been a long time Guardian player, right? He's always been playing Guardian. I don't know him that well. I've met him a bit here and there. And the last time around I saw him in competitive play was in Better Harden in Bangkok. That was last year, right? And he was also Guardian this time. That was before Heavy Hitters. That was before Heavy Hitters, and he was playing obviously our good friend Bravo. Yeah.
It was actually really surprising to see Victor taking the crown in Malaysia, right? Because right now you cannot say that the meta game is not really Victor friendly, if I must say. Because in Indonesia, I think there were almost no Guardians. I mean probably like 1 or 2 players only playing Guardians in the main event. And the whole event was won ultimately by KU. Played by one of my best friend, Julio Anthony, one of the most seasoned players in Indonesia as well.
Yeah. I think in Malaysia we had obviously like I said, we had a lot of Zens, right? But but yeah, like you said, the Guardians weren't out in full force as well. We only had, I think, 2 or 3 Guardians in the whole weekend, right? And ultimately, yeah, Keith took his way to the top in a Enigma face-off, and that was quite a exciting match to watch. Yeah, but he played very disciplined. I could tell. Even like the commentators, Ming Yu and Elliot were like watching the obviously they're commentating on the game, right? And it was like a very disciplined play by Keith, and like yeah, it really seemed. I don't know. I mean, even though I knew the results prior to watching the match because I didn't watch the match live, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was very clear. Like he was really holding tempo and controlling the entire game, and it seemed like Colin was on Enigma was just trying desperately to just respond to everything that he did, and it was I think you can learn a lot from watching that match if you're a Guardian player,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think it really shows that uh, this game really rewards a mastery of the hero that you play. Like
yeah,
if
yeah,
you are experienced with the hero, like if you are familiar, if you are
yeah,
comfortable with the hero you play, it usually pays off.
yeah. So yeah, cool. So I mean, yeah, Victor winning Malaysia was a huge surprise for everyone.
Yeah,
Most of us would thought that it would have been like an Enigma,
I-
or
yeah.
quite
I think
likely Zen, quite likely Zen, right? Yeah.
the final was Victor versus Enigma, right? And it
Yes,
was
yes, for us it
actually
was. Yeah. What about
one
you
of the
guys?
most one of the most horrible matchups for Victor Enigma.
Yeah, yeah. But he played. I mean, he played. I mean, I used to play Guardian, right? And he played exactly
Mhm.
how a Guardian would play in the Prism days, right? He had a lot of go against. He had roused the ancients. He had out muscle things like that, and he could.
Mhm.
And of course, with Victor, you could always get a card draw, right? And I think he was winning a lot of his clashes, getting all those goals, using the goal to filter the deck, bringing out stuff that he needed, and just kept the pressure on. And it was incredible, right? I was like, the match was really incredible.
Mhm.
Enjoyed watching it. It made me start to get some Victor cards. Yeah, because I have a lot of Guardian cards already. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So what was the match like for you? I didn't really get to watch your matchups during the Indonesian finals. But who was your top two? Was
Top two.
KO and
It was KO and Voltim. So KO was played by Julio, and
Voltin? Oh,
Voltim, yes.
interesting.
Interestingly enough, the Voltim player is OD. OD Vinata was actually also the finalist in Battle Hardened in Phuket. And
Ah,
he was also playing Voltim in the Battle Hardened Phuket. So yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Are we
as I
looking at the decimator Voltin, or we're looking at the
no,
no? Was it
he played the hybrid Voltim, so he brings
okay?
the Raiden package and the
And
Sintari
the
combo.
Sitari Saber package ready to go.
Yes,
Wow,
yes.
that's interesting. Yeah, I
And
mean,
in the final, I think he played the Raiden
yeah,
package.
yeah. Raiden has always has value when you can swing that final time with
Mhm.
that lightsaber sword. You can actually get a lot of damage through.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that version of Bolting can block pretty decently as well, right?
yeah. So there were actually a lot of surprises in Indonesian nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the finals were between KO and Ultin.
Yep.
So well, I think there was one or two Zens in the top eight. So I think I remember first there's one KO, one Bolton, two Azaleas,
Mm-hmm.
one Dash,
Dash.
one
Wow.
Zen,
One Zen. More.
and I think the last one was one Uzuri actually.
Ah, that's interesting.
Uzuri made top eight. Yeah. So the Uzuri player was Justian also. He's also a very seasoned assassin player,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and he actually finished first in the Swiss round, but immediately lost in top eight against the KO player.
Oh. Yeah, I think Uzuri against Chaos is quite rough. Malaysia's top eight, we had how many? I'm looking at the list here. We had two KOs in the game. One of them I know quite well. Peng Joon as well. I know Peng Joon quite okay, right? Yeah, Peng Joon was on KO. Kao Ho is someone who actually one of the early season players who also helped me to get better at the game. He was playing KO. He's usually a Guardian player, so it's quite interesting to see him play KO. And then we had one Zen only in the top 8, and we also had a Prism, Haris, who is actually is also a very good Pokemon player. He's actually gone for some of the events alongside Colin. So Colin is actually a Pokemon player as well. And then he was bringing Prism into the game and top 8 somehow. And we had interestingly enough, two news. Daryl, who's like from Churas, further out from in the further part of KL, Klang Valley, right? So he was actually in the top 8. Doing quite well, very well, definitely we knew. And Kok Min, who was last year's champion, right? So Kok Min he's a Guardian player, but he's there playing, right? So yeah, very interesting. It's like you said, surprising finalists. Victor being the final for Malaysia, and then Boltin in the Indonesian finals.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I think this just goes to show that whatever we see in the Western Hemisphere, the meta game there doesn't really reflect what we see in our part of the world in Asia, right? I hear a lot of I saw a lot of replies as well. Seeing action on day one. Yeah, unfortunately, they couldn't make it to the top 8. But I think the Riptides actually probably messed up the Zens, because Riptide's really good against Zen, and we're also very good against Enigma, right, with the traps.
How many Riptides were there in the Malaysian?
I think we had 5. I think we had 5 Riptides.
5.
5 Riptides. Yeah, Riptides. I think a lot of the Rangers decided to pivot to Riptide. We had some Exilia diehards as well, but Exilia just couldn't make it. We had our January, who's actually a seasoned Exilia player, starting from scratch all the way to now. Getting to the hero, and he was actually one of the. He went 8-0 in Beta Hadun Phuket. No, Beta Hadun, not Beta Hadun Phuket. The calling Phuket, right? He was there, right? And he was on day 1. He was actually 8-0. Being able to make it there, right? So very good Exilia player. I think he actually learned to play Flash Implant in my store back before I moved to Petaling Jaya. I was actually in the further part of the Klang Valley, and then I see him grow from like someone who just learned the game and then falling in love with Exilia, and then seeing him like really go out and compete. He's been going everywhere to compete now. Even went to the Premier, right, a couple of months ago. Yeah, so unfortunately Exilia right now struggling a little bit in
and I think if I remember correctly, the ProQuest Plus event was won by Riptide in Malaysia, right?
Okay. Yeah. Coming in, what do you say again? Sorry, I was like looking at WhatsApp and I lost my attention for a bit. What do you say again, Nisa?
The ProQuest Plus event in Malaysia was won by Riptide, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't paying attention to Progress Plus. All my attention was on the finals. I obviously running the business. I had other things happening for the whole week, right? I didn't pay it fully. So my stock kept going on with our regular stuff because we brought in a whole bunch of new players recently. So they've been enjoying the game and was paying some attention to the competitive side of things, right? But I've been spending more time giving more space to players to be able to play the games. I think probably goes right into our next topic, which I wanted to talk about some of the things that we as Asian players do struggle, or not say struggle, but it really makes it a little bit more difficult to grow our communities, right? I think that's something I wanted to talk about to see whether we can actually get people to give their comments and views. What can we do to actually grow Flash and Bird player base in our parts of the world, right? A lot of people complain that English card games are very expensive. I think there's something we can't ignore. So maybe just as a wish list, sometimes I sometimes wish that we could get our product a little bit cheaper, right? So that more people can.
Mhm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think you and I both know when we won't get our supplies for Flesh and Blood, it's all be transacted in US dollar, right? And that can be a huge challenge for us to be able to remain healthily profitable at the same time being able to keep prices to a good level so that our players can afford to buy the cards and the packs. So yeah, I think that's one challenge that a lot of people outside of Asia don't really see, right? Because a lot of times when we talk about card games, most of the attention comes from the West, right? Where it's just pure US. And for them, that's not a big issue, right? Because for them, it's just like maybe a few US dollars for a pack. And even for us, in like Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, even or other places, right? It really is a big commitment to play card games, right? And sometimes I do wish
Mhm.
that we could have like localized pricing for markets like ours. Because I used to work in a large company like a large company called 3M. So 3M is actually a huge conglomerate, billions of dollars, and there's some things that we do in that business was actually to ensure that we have what we call price corridors, right? So that markets like Malaysia or Indonesia, our products could be actually priced better so that we could actually have more people could use the products. Obviously, deals. So that's something I don't see in currently right now in card games. A lot of times it's just one price for everyone, and we either have to take it or leave it, right? So yeah,
Yeah. And I think like mostly we still look up for price references from the Western market, like from
yeah,
TCG
correct.
Player or Star City Games. And
Yeah,
it sometimes becomes a challenge because
yeah,
the market is just different. The supply and demand, for
yeah.
example,
That's right.
and that is different. And so
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean especially
Mhm.
in Indonesia, card supplies, singles supplies is very limited.
Yep, yep.
So I think right now one of the solution that some of our friends came up with was
Hmm.
to actually quote unquote import cards from Singapore or Malaysia to open the pre-orders for singles and we order it from I think Singapore was the most often that we do.
Yeah, yeah. Um I'm not a card gamer by heart, right? I started the business and then got into card games. So I find that pricing is something that's very tricky for our part of the world
Mhm.
right now. And like you said, the benchmark is always TCG player, and then but TCG player I sometimes feel doesn't. I think I'm pretty sure TCG player doesn't reflect the card availability in Asia, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, following their pricing over there is rough. Yeah, so that's one thing that is a challenge, and I think also in our part of the world, another challenge is that unlike other more developed markets, a lot of us in our local game stores, my fellow game store owners, even probably your other counterparts or slash competitors, right? We are all small
yeah.
businesses, right? We don't have a huge amount of marketing funds and all that, so we really do our best
Mhm.
to try to grow our base. And I think that part is a challenge because we don't have stores like in Japan, like Hareyuya, who has
Yeah.
lots of outlets. Then I think
Mhm.
uh, the Philippines actually is a bit funny, right? Very different from us. I think Philippines is doing really well. I think largely because they have a lot of on-ground support, which the rest of us uh, don't have as much. And we're trying to get. I'm working to try to get more support to see how we can grow.
Uh-huh.
So that's a challenge.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah. Now that I think about it, that you mentioned about marketing, yes, we don't have a lot of marketing budget, and so actually, uh, it's funny that how the community in Flesh and Blood works, like
Hmm. Hmm.
especially in Indonesia, we usually promote the game through word of mouth,
Yep.
and then we jokingly say that this is more like a multi-level marketing, if you know.
Yeah.
How you
Like.
invite new
Yeah.
players
Yeah.
and then new players invite another one, and it
Yeah. Yeah.
actually is. Yeah, I see it. It's really similar, and I see that it's how our community grows right now, and we
Mm.
see an influx of these newer players here in Indonesia. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, uh, I feel that if we do not keep up with the supplies of cards for the newer players.
Yeah.
They might lose their spirit to play the game. So yeah, it's one of the challenge to how we keep up with the growth of the player with the single card supplies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's where I've been working very hard to try to get new players in this year, especially. Well, starting the last few months, what I want to do actually is really go out there, get more players into the game, work really hard to get into places where we can actually promote the game more, and I hope I can actually inspire other stores to do the same. Because yeah, I'm really serious about the business. Not just because I'm passionate, but because I've got to make the business work right. And I think getting new players is very important for any game, not just Flash and Blood, especially so for Flash and Blood right now, because we've got to strike while the iron is hot, right? The game is doing really well now. I think a lot of competitive play. You've got to find new ways to get people engaged in the game. And as you said, card availability is a huge challenge right now for us. I mean, I even for my own fall Techno Watson project, I actually recently had to finally decide to, hey, why don't I just go to Hamel Patel with Hammurabi TCG in the US, right? Just to complete a couple of the marvels I needed. And I paid a premium for it. But it's fine, right? Because I can't find the cards here anyways. And Hamel's actually really a nice guy. He's willing to give us a bit of a deal as well. Not a major deal, but at least any savings we can make is good, right? And I managed to finally get the final 3 Marvel pieces I needed. But I believe it's indicative of how challenging it can be for us to find cards, and even if having to import from other countries where there are more cards available because of the more affordable nature of TCGs in places like the US. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I also think that it's also a challenge that if you want to introduce the game to a new area, like for example, if you coax your friends to try the game, it's usually easier than if you try to bring the game into a new area where they have little to no exposure to the game, it kind of proves quite challenging. Like for example, like here in Indonesia, the community is based in 3 big cities in Jakarta, Surabaya, and Bali. And I think there is a new player that also want to introduce the game in Bandung area. And currently we are still discussing on how we can penetrate the Bandung market from the Flash and Blood.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's where my take on how we can grow Flash and Blood is actually to encourage more formats, right? Formats that people can get into. So most of the time we see it's just classic constructed, right? And I think classic constructed is a great format, but not a new player friendly format, right? Because
I think it
want
is
to play
for seasoned players.
Yeah, classic constructed. Not so much the game style, but more like the cards that you need, the legendaries and all that. That's actually very, very much you need that, right, to get your decks to work properly. Sometimes, most of the time, actually, in fact, Blitz also as well. So I really like formats like Commoner. I think Commoner is something that we can actually help to promote the game more, because Commoner is like almost zero barrier of entry, right? Especially because a lot of us have a lot of these common cards lying around. And the community generally leaves a lot of these cards behind in our stores. And I find Commoner, I like Commoner a lot itself, because it allows me to build decks that I wouldn't normally build, because I don't have to pay for the cards generally, or even if it's very cheap. Yeah. So I think
and it kind of utilizes like the cards that you don't normally use. Like
Commoner is good fun, right?
I think it's a good entry point for new players, and it kind of showcase how each hero works.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I don't know whether you watch Dice Commando on YouTube. Dice Commando actually promotes Commoner a lot, and I actually run Commoner in my store quite regularly as well.
And I think as a store and community, you have a lot of common singles that you don't use, right? Common cards that you don't use,
right?
And what I think making common decks with your communities, with your stores, is also a very good activity. If I must say,
correct. And I think I would like to encourage anyone who's listening here who's already playing Flash and Blood, that you just engage in Commoner. I mean, if you because sometimes it's very difficult for us to fire off events like this if someone wants to play. And then if you're a seasoned player who also invest time in playing the commoner format, right? There's more people to play with, and you can actually help to teach and grow the community. And I think all these common cards that we have, like you were talking about wanting to go Bandung, right? And actually, I've been traveling Malaysia a bit the last few weeks. I went to Kota Kinabalu, I went to Penang, Pulau Pinang, which is in the northern part of Malaysia, right? And I discovered that Flash and Blood outside of the Klang Valley is actually quite poor.
Yeah.
And in fact, in Kota Kinabalu, Flash and Blood has died there, which was sad, right? And I actually went and talked to the store owner who used to run Flash and Blood there, and he said it was just after a while, people just weren't interested, right? I have to say that it's not entirely, maybe partly the store owners have done more, I know, but I think in our industry right now with us as LGS owners, not everyone is like well trained or come from a background where they know how to recruit players and grow them. I think that's one part of the business that needs to be better. But other than that, I think it's about effort as well. So as a store, recruiting players is very important. Also giving them a place to play and a way to play that can be low barrier, right? That's very key. And I think all these cards that we have, especially in, for you in Jakarta and for me here in the Klang Valley, right? If we can actually help support some of these stores and ship them all these cards, right? And also maybe help them to use these cards to actually grow the player base. Because we have so much. I mean, like, because we're in the city, our affluence level in the city is actually better. A lot more people open up packs and generally leave behind a lot of these things. So I think we can find a way to create a network of stores can support each other, especially those over the city. Well, solve two problems, right? Commons end up growing into like a big of a disease. In my store, I got a lot of commons everywhere. The moment a set opens, you feel even a lot, and after that, a month, give it like a month or two, and then you have boxes and boxes for all these commons, right?
It just keeps piling up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not wanting to just dump it to other people, but I always look at these cards as a way for us to actually get new players, right? And because I'm a small business myself, I don't have all the resources to build decks and everything. So I feel like I should like figure out a way to pass this on to like new stores who are trying to grow the communities. They maybe just pay for shipping or a small amount of money, and this I can get these cards to them, and then find a way to work with them and say, hey, you can actually use this as tools to grow your players, because these cards have no value, right? No one's going to buy all these cards, right? And I always think that these cards are actually valuable as a way for us to actually show people the game, allow them to get a feel of being able to build their own decks. And Commoner actually has been becoming a much more fun format now that we are. How many sets in? I think we are 13 sets in or 14 sets into Flash and Blood, right? And the number of common cards that are in the card pool has grown dramatically. And and Commoner is awesome way to do that. I want to play Commoner. Commoner is fun. I've got a full default old him Commoner deck that I'm having fun with from time to time, and I like the deck so much that I haven't even upgraded it lately. It's still using the Aria cards and the WTR cards and all that, but I don't even have any heavy hitters cards in that deck, and it still works, right? It's quite fun to play. Yeah,
I think the Commoner just forces you to be creative with limited and diverse card pool. And
correct.
that's also what we are trying to do here in Indonesia as well. We try to help other stores that also stuff Flash and Blood with common cards that we have. And what we like to do here is like we gather with a group of friends and we actually try to make the a tutorial deck with common cards. We try to find reference online, make decks. So probably like usually, for example, we like 2 KO decks, 2 Betsy decks, and 2 Betsy decks, and all other heroes from other sets as well.
Yep.
And we try to give it to other stores that want to try Flash and Blood for the first time. Because sometimes when you just give common cards, it can be overwhelming for them to make new decks. We try to help them for their first step into the game.
Yeah, I think it's something that that's actually a cool thing to do. Like really help these stores by building these decks. And I think it's something that community can also do, right? Because we all have to come together, right? I wish I had like a dozen employees to do it, but unfortunately, I'm not at that place. And I think the community in Flash and Blood is actually really helpful. And just sometimes as store owners, they just ask, hey, we want to actually tell people more about this game, and we need your help. But you have to spend one afternoon with us to build some of these decks so that we can go to other stores, for example, or like for example in my case, try to give them to places that are further outside of the Klang Valley to help these communities grow and teach people about the game. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Yeah, just building these. Unfortunately, some heroes don't work that well in Commoner because sometimes the card pool is not enough, so it doesn't. You can't really show the flavor of the hero.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think like Roma is very hard to in common because most of her dragons are rares. But
Yeah.
in general, if you want to like have a taste of the game, see how each hero how do you say that? Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of captures the basic of the hero itself.
Yeah, right. I think Droma is doable. You can actually build a version of Droma. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, sorry. I mean, I wanted to. We want to make this episode every episode, new player or even new card player friendly, right? So in card games, generally, we have to build our decks based on various rules and all that. And sometimes some of these decks need like rarer cards that that make the deck work. And in when we talk about commoner, we're talking about common cards that you find in every pack. Like you open one pack of 16 cards, you have like 10 of those cards are common cards, which means these cards are very easy to find. Generally have no value, and are usually discarded by people, right? But in Flash and Blood, we have this format called Commoner, where you don't have to play with the rarer cards. You can just play with the common cards, which makes it very accessible to people. And like yeah. So some decks need the rarer cards to work. Yeah. So that's where it can be a challenge to build a good deck. I think right now, like for example, Arachne, if you build I know Arachne is not a common hero, right? The original Arachne. If you build Arachne, a young Arachne, right? Not the solitary confinement version, which is another version of this hero, but the Arachne, original Arachne, right? That deck would not work at all. Like using all the commons only, right? So,
yeah,
some decks will be hard. Yeah.
To a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah, so some heroes can't work. Uzuri can still work, I think. Uzuri, you can still do because the ability is just dependent on bringing the 2 costs or whatnot for free, right? So yeah, So I think some heroes most heroes you can build a good commoner deck that can be played and show the flavor of the hero, and some unfortunately you can't. Like my beloved Arachne, who is actually drawn by Iswadi. So
yeah,
man, yeah. Like Kano can work commoner. I've played Kano commoner before. And it's quite powerful as well. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts about how we can grow the game in our club?
I think how to learn is I feel like collaboration here is like, even with other stores, even if you're competitors, still benefits you more if you help each other rather than like exclusively competing with other stores.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a lesson that I'm learning as well. 2 years plus into the business. Unlike other industries, I think being in the hobby industry, collaboration works, right? Yeah, sure. Some people might win more. Get more players than others, but ultimately it's the player's choice, right? But I think with us in card games, especially trading card games, I think all of us need to grow the pie, meaning that every store can just do their part to bring in more new players for any game, and especially for a game like Flash and Blood, which is growing right now, it benefits everyone. It doesn't mean that even though like Chris's store in Stormgate Games brings in 50 players, that I'll keep all 50 players. Some will still end up going elsewhere.
Yes.
It's more convenient to be elsewhere. And if every store did that, I'm sure the game will grow tremendously. If every store could bring in 5 players every 3 months, eventually we'll hit like a good number of people. And then like you said,
Mhm.
word of mouth, right? Because the players themselves will also start sharing about the game. It's not
Yeah.
just. I think in this business, in this space, we both all parties play their part. The stores can't do it themselves, but the stores need to take responsibility because it's a business. We are a business after all, so we have to do the effort to invest money in getting new players, in creating activities, going out there to recruit players. But at the same time, we can't do it alone, right? We also need
Yeah, yeah.
community to work hand in hand with us to get new players, and I think that's where we can see active growth in the game. So I think maybe today I just wanted to make a call to everyone who's listening. It doesn't matter whether you're a player, you're a store owner, you are working in the store.
Mhm.
If you love Flash and Blood, you got to do what we can to share about the game to others in order for us to be able to have more players. When there's more players are opening packs, more cards come out, and then we have more availability of cards. And those of us who like to crack a lot, then there's more people for us to sell these cards too, right? So that we can offset whatever we've already spent on opening packs. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's what I like to say as competition between the stores. You want to cooperate and also compete with the stores in a healthy way. Like, of course, you want your stores to grow, but
Yeah.
I think by growing the community as a whole, it will bring greater benefits to the store.
Yeah, correct. I agree. I totally agree. And yeah, you end up some players will be more will like your store more. Some players like another store more, and that's perfectly fine because all our stores have
Mhm.
we have our own DNA, our own vibe, right? So I
Yeah,
think
true,
it's
true.
fine. I mean, for example, my competitor slash I don't know, frenemy, whatever not you call it, Invictus Forge, right? They they have a more competitive crowd, and I wouldn't like to go play there because I'm not a competitive guy. But that doesn't mean that the community is wrong or anything, right? It's just like yeah, they enjoy playing competitive, and that's the kind of community that thrives there, and that's perfectly fine. And you need communities like that as well, right? Because
Mhm.
game, if you want to get better, we just keep chilling out and not doing anything and just playing casual, right? You will never be able to level up as well. So then there's no hope for you to actually make it to nationals or go to a big event like the Calling to Win. You need some communities to be competitive, right? And that's
Yeah.
actually the place for that. We need some communities to be casual, and there's also a place for that. We need some communities to be hybrid. I think my community is a bit more hybrid. I don't entirely encourage competitive play, but at the same time, I don't discourage it as well. But I try to create a space for people to balance it out, right? And then people sometimes come to us, tell me, say, hey, well, because the Invictus Watch is so competitive. I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I mean, if you just want to be
Uh-huh.
casual, you can just come here. But if you want to get better, I would say just go to Invictus Watch, go and play there, because you'll meet all the top players there, and then you'll get better at the game. Sure, it may suck because you keep losing, but you'll get better. I guarantee you that, right? Yeah.
I think your store falls also to the category of casually competitive.
I don't know what to call my store. I actually want it to be fully casual, but you can't
Mhm.
because card games are always competitive in nature.
Yeah, I
That's
think
why I
so.
really look forward to the PVE product that LSS is going to release one day, right? I can't wait
Yeah,
for that
really.
because that means we can use the game system, uh, the wonderful game system that Flash and Blood has, right? In
Mhm.
order to be able to get people to familiarize themselves with it, and then maybe potentially try the more competitive format, which is either Blitz or even Commoner is a 1v1 format, right? And Flash and Blood is a fighting game, I would say, like
Yeah.
built for that. But when I look at the mechanics, how you can pitch to attack and have all these different abilities, I can also see like a role playing game type thing, like a dungeon crawl, right? Like you create your heroes, and then you create your deck
Mhm.
with your special attacks or whatnot, and then you go fight this big bad, like the World of Warcraft. I never played the game before, but I've heard good things about the World of Warcraft living card game, right? Where people actually had the raid deck and they could fight
Mhm.
an AI type
Yeah.
boss. Yeah, I can't wait for a product like that, because that means I can. It's more easy. It's easier for me to tell people, hey, try Flash and Blood. Why? You know, I'm not a competitive guy, but hey, we got this RPG dungeon crawl game that you can play as well.
I'm also really looking forward to the official PvE format, because I think right now we already have a fan-made
Yeah,
PvE
we do.
format right there, and
Yeah.
I tried it once, and it was really fun.
Is it?
And I
Yeah.
think
Okay. I know about them, like Overlord, and then there's this other one
Mhm.
by Techno Crow, right? I always keep telling people I want to go and like do something in the store, but I haven't had the time to put it together. I want to try it as well. I think it's gonna be fun. It's like playing a
Yeah.
video game, a card video game, like Slay the Spire. I don't know if you played that video game, Slay the Spire, where you actually have a deck and then you go out into a random fights, and then you have to make your way up to the boss and kill it, right? Yeah, so something like that. It's quite fun. Can you imagine if we do that with multiplayer, right? So all of us
Yeah.
are collaborating.
And yeah. And imagine if we have like some sort of like hero progression during the, like we make somehow some sort of campaign with our
Yeah,
heroes like
yeah,
that. Like we start with
yeah.
only common cards, and then we get more powerful like, equipment and stuff.
Correct.
The
Yeah,
more
yeah.
we
Actually,
go,
this is actually a great idea. I've been having same ideas like that. Like
it
my
would be
wish
really
list for
interesting.
LSS is actually for them to create this game format where we have seasons, right? Like a living card game. So you have sets that come out every 3 months or whatnot, like expansion sets, and then there's the store set, and then the stores actually run like weekly campaigns where we also are given promos that are used for or just for this format, right? For PVE, so that every week the you get like a special card, like a special shield. Like when you play a dungeon crawl, you get those loot drop, right? So that we have
Yeah.
all these packs that I don't want these packs to have good EV. Meaning that I don't want it to be like the regular card game, the regular set where you have cards at $20, $30. These cards can just be pure cosmetic cards that the stores get, and then we can promote and give out to people. It's something cool, right? So that you come in weekly, you play the game, you can crack some packs, and then every time when you play this PVE format campaign thing, right, then you'll be able to get these cards that are prizes for everyone. So you get participation promo cards that you can use as cosmetic in the game, so that you can make your character look cool, or maybe sometimes you can get like a special weapon that can only be used in this format, right? That you can use to become like a powerful paladin or whatnot. I think that would be something very good to do. And then be some, because cards are just cards, right? You're printing cardboard in a way. I know card games have secondary market value, but if you want to get more people into the game, I think like formats like PvE should be like pure fun formats where people can play. They don't have to worry about buying 100 US dollar cards or whatnot, but they just play, they have fun. And then there's some cards that are just specific to this format that you can get by coming to the store, be rewarded, get some of this cosmetic type stuff that they can upgrade their hero speed and then play together with friends. Yeah.
I think Flesh and Blood is one of those card games that are really well designed for things like PvE, and this is just my wild speculation. I think we're gonna get PvE on Matrix 2.0, where the big bad will be Technoposan because of the shadow Metropolitan Unicorn.
You
This is
think?
a wild speculation. I think it's a very real possibility.
Yeah, I honestly think the world of Rift still is very underdeveloped. I think the laws needs a lot of work, but maybe the story can be progressed through PVE, right? So that we can the competitive stuff can be the competitive stuff, but all the law-driven stuff can be done through PVE, and then we get a lot of new sets from time to time. We get maybe campaign support for us as stores, so that we can engage with our communities. It will be given tools that we can use to create stuff that's cool, that's personalized for our own store, and then all the stores can actually do our own thing, and then we can share these things with one another, so that players can go from store to store to play together in the campaigns and things like that. Yeah, that's a nice dream. I hope LSS is listening to this. I know we are still not a big podcast. James White, if you're listening to this, or I know Brian Godley is the competitive guy. So whoever is in the design team, if you are working on the PVE format or PVE product, we hope you hear our wish list. I think my ideas are based on business as well, because you need to create a pool cool for people to come to your store, right? And then having some kind of support for PvE at the store level for us to attract players, keep players engaged will be really good. Not just from selling packs, but also just cool stuff we can give out that don't have EV, don't put EV in it, zero EV kind of stuff. They're just cool. I think card games have gotten a bit out of hand with value. I mean, I'm not a card player, so I always look at it, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've tried sometimes how cards can be so expensive. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Let's subject there for quite a bit. Maybe it's just something to discuss.
Yeah. I mean, like, I find myself maybe I feel like a kid sometimes playing card games, right? It's like, where's the purity of the card game is like gone, right? So I think something I hope I can bring back. I mean, I was never in card games before, but I hope it's something I can reintroduce to the card game world, especially in my store. That, hey, it's about having fun, just come and play, support the store, have fun, make new friends. I think that's some things that we've lost along the way. And I think at the end of the day, community is one of the most important things we can actually encourage in our stores. Not just look at the competitive part of Flash and Blood, for example, but actually look at how we can value each other as people and really become good friends. Right? Yeah.
Right. So I think we should go on to the final part of this podcast and how we can collaborate in the community stores to grow Flash and Blood in our country.
Yeah,
So
I think that okay.
we dabbled to this part a bit in the last part about how we collaborate with other stores on providing recommended decks for new players, how we we just share how we really enjoy the game with other people.
Yeah. I think right now what we are doing, even with this podcast, which is my one of the things I really hope this podcast can do, is actually introduce card games to people, right? I hope one day we can talk about more than just Flash and Blood in this podcast, because there's so many great card games out there. Yeah, so it's like, I know I love Flash and Blood right now, and I think I want to always talk about Flash and Blood. But I think there's room for a lot of card games, even for my store. Even I don't do Magic so much, I'm trying to do it now. All these games have got its own value, right? Like Flash and Blood is a fighting game. So if you like, for example, if you like video games, you like to play fighting games like Tekken or Street Fighter, I think you might take well to Flash and Blood, right? If you like, I think Flash and Blood also attracts people who like MOBA, right?
MOBA, and I think
MOBA games, yeah, like Mobile Legends, or even League of Legends, right?
Even when you like MMORPG general.
Yeah.
You also like how different heroes in this game matters.
Yeah, I think so. That's the strength of Flash and Blood, and I think Magic is a different kind of strength. Magic is a game where, especially Commander, is a lot more social type of game, and you can just have fun chatting with your friends and then playing your Commander decks and whatnot. Not CDH though. I think pre-con is actually a good way to keep playing without having all that power going into the game. So Magic attracts a different form of player, right? Magic attracts people who like to play the game and like to socialize, but they also like thematic decks, right? Which is something that Flash and Blood doesn't really have, right? Because in Flash and Blood you have rules on how to build a deck based on talent and class. But in Magic, you can do anything. So I think Magic has its strength there, right? You can do like all kinds of decks that you want. The same goes with other card games, right? I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh! And all these other games myself, but my store does have Grand Archive.
Oh, Grand Archive.
Yeah, Grand Archive is I haven't had time to dive into the game because I just all my personal money is being spent. I've been seeing people pay. My store community is growing. Grand Archive is actually it's actually growing quite decently in Malaysia, and it's a quite and the cards are actually really nice. I would have to say the cards are actually quality wise better than we've got nicer paper stock. The back of the card, I don't know if you know what spot UV is. You've got spot UV kind of treatment. It looks really nice, and the art is you like Asian, Japanese, Korean art, right? Right up there. It's like very good for people who like anime, right? that's a perfect game. And it's got a good resource system as well. And the developers have actually been doing good things in the game. Initially, I felt it didn't seem to fly, but now that they keep their stride, right, I think Grand Archive is actually coming out to be a pretty good game as well.
Yeah, I think Grand Archive right now is starting to enter the Indonesian market, and I think it already started to make ripples in the community. And I did see an example, like it's the Starter Jack, was it? Or the and it looks really
Yes.
interesting. But yeah, I think for now, I don't really have the time and money to
Yeah.
to make them to because right now I
Yeah.
started also playing Yu-Gi-Oh again after like last time I played was like 2000.
Okay. Yeah.
Of the nostalgia.
Correct. Yeah, there's so many games out there. Like in my store right now, starting to be more Magic. I'm watching some community members who are keen on building new players, right? And I'm getting the Magic a bit slowly. When you look at it, right, I should, right, because Magic, I can't ignore Magic. Magic is such a big game, and I can see its strengths. Yeah, so Magic. I also been tempted to try a bit more Grand Archive. My store manager now, he's like the main Grand Archive guy now, right? And like I'm tempted now. I'm like looking at some of the starter decks in my store. I'm like, do I want to like build a deck here? Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's tempting. Yeah, but some of the cards in Grand Archive, for example, are quite expensive, right? Because you need cards like Guide. You don't play the game, I guess, but the game has been in my store for over a year, right? And I know a bit about the game. And then there's this one card in Grand Archive that everyone needs. So in Grand Archive, when you play the game, you can actually level up your hero, right? Right. And then one of the main cards in Grand Archive is that this card called Dungeon Guide. It's a super expensive card, and when you play that card, it helps you to accelerate being able to level up your hero, right? And that card is super hard to find. I mean, like I've opened quite a bit of packs as well from Grand Archive in the beginning because I wanted to support the game in my store. I wanted to get the game. So I used to play a bit when my base was very small. I used to play in our weekly events. And I would just open a pack or two every time during the event, right? I always lose, but I always get my participation pack, right? So I open it up. I've opened a bit here and there as well, and I've not gotten a single dungeon guide. All right, so I don't even have dungeon guide until today, even though I have a deck. From agent is updated beyond recognition. I don't even recognize the deck anymore. So yeah, there are some cards that are needed in the game, right? And these cards can be quite expensive as well. I hope the developers actually put those cards in more, like increase the drop rate a little bit more, because some of these cards are staples, right? So like my players tell me there's a type of card like Dungeon Guide called Academic Guide. So they tell me anytime there's a card with the word guide in it, right? That card's really important.
I think you can say it's like the Command and Conquer of Grand Archive.
Yeah, it's like Command and Conquer. Yeah, you're right. I think Dungeon Guide is like a Command and Conquer, Art of War, or Enlightened Strike. Yeah. So these are like the power cards that you need, like the staples. Like Magic has its own also as well, right? I'm going to get the Magic soon, hopefully more. Yeah, I'll know a bit more about the cards. So I'm actually, yeah. We can talk about Magic also sometimes. All right. Yeah. So get collaboration. I think we'll just end on today's note on collaboration. I think all of us need to collaborate. I think we can all be
one of the things that I want to highlight about collaboration is actually right now in Indonesia we are going to have our first Battle Hardened event in Bali.
Yes.
2 weeks time. 2 weeks time. So and one of our friends in the community actually took a page out of your book to make the road to Battle Hardened Bali.
Yeah, I swear, I saw it. I saw that the thing.
The poster, right?
Yeah, I saw. I can't remember where I saw it on Facebook. I think. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
And so that's a collaboration like between Bali Awakening Zone as the host of the Battle Hardened and other stores in Jakarta to host the road to Battle Hardened to actually attract more people to join the Battle Hardened.
Yeah.
So it's one of the ways that we can collaborate, how we work together to promote bigger events, how to
Yeah, I tried doing that
gather
as well,
time.
right? Yeah, when yeah, was it Adya who came? When I did that
You
hardest one.
did the road to Battle Hundred
Yeah. I also tried to do that. It's a bit harder for me. The stores in Malaysia currently aren't as collaborative, but I hope that changes over time. That we can learn to
Mhm.
work together. I mean, I definitely want to work with more people. I mean, I'm learning how not to see people as competitors, but like people we can all be friends. Because I think, like you said, right, if we collaborate, all of us win. Not so, and I think if we can all of us level up together, right, then card games can
Mhm.
become common in our countries, which unfortunately right now isn't as common. I dare say for Magic, I don't think the player base in Malaysia is very big as well. I think you probably got only a few thousand players. And in population such as ours, right, it should be more, right? I think even in Indonesia, you got millions of people there, right? But you talk about
Mhm.
card games, I think it's like you're talking about 0.00001% who actually play card games. Primarily because of the price, I guess. But if there are ways you can play card games in a more affordable way, like for example, in Fashionable Commoner, in Magic you have Popper, right? If these formats can be supported more, then more people can play the game, right? Yeah, which is a
Yeah.
shame. I think sometimes card games are locked away by the price, when I think card games actually uh, can be like more people should be able to play these games, right? Yeah. Anyways, it is what it is, right? But it doesn't mean we
Yeah.
can't make things happen or change things bit by bit. I think we don't believe we can change things, then it won't change. But if we work at it, you never know, right? We might. I hope one day card games can become something like video games, right? That everyone plays it, right? So I don't know, because I think card games are very healthy. I think card games allow us to socialize, uh, and uh, and that's something that you can't capture. Other places. Not even board games. I think board games are harder for you to socialize because board games you play once in a while, but card games we meet every week, like going to like a
Mhm.
church or temple, right? We meet every week and we
Yeah.
play like going to church, right? And then we're like, oh, okay, let's play cardboard, let's play cardboard every week, right? Like players, I think the reason why card game communities are very tight knit or they know each other really well is because we go out and play every week, sometimes more than once a week, right?
Even when we don't play, we usually have some discussion in the group chat
Yeah,
every
we do.
single
Yeah,
day.
yeah, we do. And I don't know. I think for me, I really enjoy this part of the business.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
the community part. I'm a personable guy, right? So I always like to find out how people are doing, if they married or not. What is the dog been up to? So I think I really enjoy this part of the business. I think that's why I have a lot. I still have energy to do it, even though sometimes it can be very disheartening sometimes, right? Because it's quite a difficult business to be in, and so you sometimes get community feedback or negative feedback, and it really makes me feel down sometimes. When I hear things that I could have done better, or things that they think I've done wrong, which sometimes they only see one side of the story, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
it's hard business to be in. I enjoy it. I won't give up. I want to see it happen. Maybe call me very naive, or you call me like a dreamer. I really hope card games can become really much bigger. That our stores were like filled with hundreds of players. Yeah, I hope to see that happen. Not just for my store. I think for every other store, everywhere else, you can have hundreds of players coming to our stores, right? That means that we are doing something good. And I think it's not just about playing games, right? It's about bringing people together. I think that's what our stores actually are. We're like the modern community center where people actually come to enjoy each other's company whilst playing card games, right? So card games just happens to be what we do, but actually it's all about people, right? Yeah,
Yes, now we have fun
yeah,
in
that's
ways
how we
that
have
we
fun.
have in common with other people.
Yeah, right. And then we can talk about something else other than politics or
Yeah.
the difficulties of life, right? Yeah, it's a place for us. I wouldn't call it escapism. I think card games can be escapism. It's true. You can just use it to escape your troubles.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
But I think more than that, I'm learning that I think card games are a place to bring people together, where you get to know people because you meet each other every week, right? You can't help but get to know someone else better, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know whether how many minutes we've recorded this time around. I think we recorded quite a bit.
We went over an hour.
Oh my god. Okay, I hope everyone has patience with us. Still is listening to this point. So yeah, it's already 12:28 a.m. on my side. It's probably a bit earlier from your end, but I've got a long day tomorrow. I've got to go to the store. I hope that some New Zealand visitors will come. I was actually interacting with some New Zealand players who are actually in Malaysia,
Nice.
and they were supposed to come today, but there was the traffic was bad. Hope I get to meet them. They're flying off on Saturday. Yeah, so I hope that I can meet them and get to know more players from other parts of the world. And these guys are from New Zealand, right? The home of Flesh and Blood. So maybe I can get some insight on what New Zealand is like, especially the Flesh and Blood scene there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Okay, cool. So yeah, I think this wraps up. This is episode 4, right? I think episode 4 of
It is episode 4. Yeah.
episode 4. I hope we will put it together, get it out too soon to everyone. So it's now the 5th of June. Oh, sorry, 5th of July. It was 4th of July before this, which was Independence Day for America.
True.
Yeah. So happy Independence Day to all our friends in the US of A. Hope you have a good one over the 4th of July weekend. Yeah. All right. So yeah, thanks, Geoffrey. I think we had a good chat today about all this. I think it's refreshing to talk about something that I think is dear to our hearts, right? How do we grow our communities? And then a bit about the nationals. Yeah. Okay, so this is Trading Card Talk. This is Chris from Stormgate Games signing off. Geoffrey, you want to say anything in closing?
Yeah, this is Geoffrey from Equators. Thank you everyone for listening, and also thank you, Chris, for the wonderful discussion we had this evening. So until next time.
Yep, until next time, tune in to Trading Card Talk. We try to release every 2 weeks, hopefully on Friday or Saturday, because we are doing. Yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. And maybe we can even do it weekly one day. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Card Delight, trading cards. It's time to join the conversation. Lead a journey into the trading card hall.